They wouldn't even let her pee. You know, now it's just getting cruel. They wouldn't even let Christie Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security. They wouldn't even let her pee. She's a Trump cabinet official. She's got a full bladder. She's got to go empty it at City Hall, and Chicago says, no way. That's just cruel and unusual. Look, I get it. You hate Donald Trump. I get it. You love illegal immigrants. I get it. Chicago, Governor Pritzker in Chicago. I get it. This guy is like one of the worst. This guy is one of the, this is a guy who is just, he's as Donald Trump said it, he's a failed businessman. His own family doesn't even want him, handling their hotels, probably because he eats all the food off the buffet, and so he's got nothing else to do. So now what's he doing? He's declared war on President Donald Trump, and he won't even let the Secretary of Homeland Security urinate in City Hall, which, I got to be honest with you, is a municipal building. I'm pretty sure if you need to urinate, it's not like it's not like Starbucks where you have to go spend $7 on a latte before you get the code for the bathroom. It's not like, like Wawa, where you need to go get the key and go, although I think Wawas are pretty nice. There's no sign on the door that says no shirt, no shoes, no service. Or as Jeff Spicoli would say, no shirt, no shoes, no dies, which was my favorite. It's one of my favorite lines ever. But no, they wouldn't even let her. Anyway, we'll get to all that here in just a minute. Just know that Chicago's a mess. It's horrible. It's a war zone. Spike Lee was right when he called it Chirac. And now Donald Trump has invaded Chirac, and he's going to liberate it the same way he's liberating Iran, the same way he's liberating Gaza. He's going to make sure that our country's major cities, starting with Washington, D.C., but now moving on to Chicago and Portland and New York, are all safe again. We're going to cover that here in just a minute. Also, we've got a press briefing coming up in just a minute on what is like day 6, I think, of the government shut. The government's still closed. Sorry, folks, government's closed. Moose out front should have told you. The Schumer shutdown continues. The Democrats continue to spread lies about the Republicans. They voted on Friday not to reopen the government. They're going to vote again today not to reopen the government, so it will continue. We'll get to all of that live in just a minute. As soon as Caroline Leavitt comes out to the podium, we will bring you that press briefing live, so you don't have to worry about it. And not only will we bring you the press briefing live, but I will add my expert commentary as it's ongoing, like live commentary on what exactly is, and people love that. They either love it or they hate it. Some people go, I love that you bring us these press conferences and comment in between. And some people go, shut up, Mark, I can't hear what Caroline Leavitt's saying. Either way, that's coming up here momentarily. But first, let's get as much of this Chicago stuff in as we can. So the Chicago mayor, a guy by the name of Brandon Johnson, who's like the worst mayor ever. Probably the worst. I don't know if like Mayor McCheese was probably a better mayor. I don't even know if Mayor McCheese did anything mayoral, but he was probably a better mayor than Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago. He issued an executive order, and the executive order is not an executive order that, is going to help keep the city safe. It's not an executive order that's going to make it easier for federal troops and law enforcement to get rid of the criminal element. It's not going to protect the citizens of Chicago who are getting murdered by the dozen every month. No, it's actually one of the dumbest executive orders anyone's ever signed.
And today, we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out-of-control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids.
ICE-free zones. Ice-free zones. Bum, 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 ba-da-dum, bum, bum. Ice-free zones in Chicago. Ba-da-dum, bum, bum, bum. Municipal buildings, federal or municipal offices, police stations, and unwilling private businesses, were there ever unwilling private businesses that were being launching grounds for ICE, will no longer be launching grounds for ICE activities in Chicago, meaning they're making it more difficult for the federal government to keep Chicagoans safe. The people who were elected, the mayor, the governor, all these folks who are in charge of, protecting Chicago, are now handing it over to the illegals and the criminals and the protesters. They're basically saying, you know what, we don't care about law and order. We don't care about public safety. We are too scared, or we're too beholden to the protesters and the criminals and the thugs and the gang members and the illegals, that we're just going to let them run the city. And if anybody tries to stop them from running the city, if anyone tries to restore law and order, if anyone says, you know what, you can't do that, that's illegal, and we're going to make sure that you know that, we're going to actually stop them. What's happening in Chicago now is you have the mayor and the governor, both of whom are actively working to protect, once again, and this is not unheard of because they're Democrats, the criminal element in the city, while negatively affecting or threatening the people who voted them into office. And it's out of control. Chicago's out of control. Look at this. These are rioters in the middle of the day in Chicago, and they're attacking police. They're attacking ICE. They've got the smoke bomb things. They're running around. They're throwing bricks. They're throwing. You can hear there's like throwing bricks, and there's firecrackers. There's all kind of stuff. They're blocking cars. This is the other thing. They're blocking cars. The police are like yelling and screaming with their nightsticks, trying to get people to move because they're blocking them in. There are like convoys of illegal immigrants and criminals who chase ICE agents, honk their horns, try to let everybody know ICE is coming, and then they box in their vehicles. And that's something that's been going on in Chicago. In fact, one ICE agent had to shoot and kill somebody for running them down. JB Pritzker's lying about that as well. But the mayor goes, you know what? Chicago's perfectly fine. ICE is the problem, so we're going to install ICE-free zones in this. We're going to install ICE-free zones. And in fact, not only, this is the real doozy, not only are they saying ICE isn't welcome in our municipal buildings, we're not going to help ICE. We're not going to allow ICE to stage their law enforcement activities here in Chicago. They're actually telling police officers, the Chicago PD has been ordered to stand down and not help ICE officers when they are in harm's way. When ICE officers are getting attacked, harassed, chased, beaten, when they're being run over by vehicles in Chicago and the police are called, the police are now being told, don't help them. We're not going to do it. You know what? We're not responding to any calls of ICE agents in jeopardy. Listen to this. This was a dispatch between, I guess, whoever's working for the chief of patrol and a dispatcher. Listen to this.
99.
Yeah, send the cars in that direction. Have them stay put 2 or 3 blocks away, all right? Have them hold tight until I give you further direction, please.
Okay, so for MPD units responding to 39th Police in Kedzie per 999, if you guys can just, for the units responding to 39th and Police in Kedzie, if you guys can start heading there as quick as you can, and then just hold tight for instructions with 999.
999.
999.
For the chief of patrol, clear everybody up. We're not responding over there.
Radio check. And again, per the chief of patrol, we have all the units that per 999. Chief of patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location.
62, we're going to clear out as soon as we can, Spot. We're like locked in over here, so we're going to do the best we can to get out of here as soon as we can.
That is, just so if you're just joining us or if you're just following along, that is a police dispatch from Chicago. And police dispatch was told by the chief of patrol, stand down. We're not responding to any calls from ICE. Stand down. We're not responding or, policing Chicago. Stand down. We are police officers. We're supposed to protect and serve, but we are not protecting and serving ICE agents when they are under attack in our city. They literally said, per the chief. Well, here, it's right here.
99.
Yeah, send the cars in that direction. Have them stay put 2 or 3 blocks away, all right? Have them hold tight. Per the chief of patrol, clear everybody up. We're not responding over there.
Yeah. Per the chief of patrol, clear everybody out. We're not responding over there. That's the chief of police. The chief of police is saying, chief of patrol, whatever, saying we're not sending units. Bring everybody back. ICE is on their own. Chicago police, not the rank and file, not the men and women, on the street, but the Chicago Police Department, the chief of patrol, the mayor, the governor, for all we know, they've abandoned law and order. The Chicago police have turned on the people of Chicago. They're no longer going to protect them. They're no longer going to protect them. Guess what? Mayor Brandon Johnson was asked about this, and he said, yes, that's exactly what's happening. We've abandoned all law and order in Chicago.
So the chief of patrol, clear everybody up. We're not responding over there.
Hold on, wait, I got that. Hold on, I have a clip here of. Hold on, here's the mayor, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. And I got it. Wait a minute, it's right. Where did it go? Is this it? Here we go. Listen carefully. Here it is.
Confirm the reports that Chicago police were ordered to stand down when ICE agents were surrounded and rammed by cars. And do you want Chicago police not to help ICE agents?
Our police officers respond to every single emergency in this city. The brave women and men who sign up to serve and protect this city are committed to keeping us safe. And what we have made very clear is through our Welcoming City Ordinance, when it comes to civil immigration enforcement, absent a warrant, our police department will not dub as federal ICE agents. In fact, we believe it's antithetical to driving violence down in the city of Chicago. When people call 911, we do not ask what their immigration status is, right? And so our police department will respond to every incident in which their services are needed to keep people safe, protecting the fundamental right to be able to protest, ensuring the maximum safety of our residents. That is the top priority of our administration.
Can you confirm, though, were Chicago police told to stand down?
What I can confirm is that our police department responds to every single 911 call. When 911 is called and there's an emergency, our police department shows up, as they've always done.
Except in this instance, when he doesn't have to, we can confirm it. We have it right here.
So the chief of patrol, clear everybody up. We're not responding over there.
Yeah. Per the chief of patrol, clear everybody out. We're not responding over there. So we don't need the mayor to confirm it. It's already been confirmed. It's already been confirmed. And the fact that he said we respond to every 911 call is a lie. He said when someone calls 911, we don't ask their immigration status, but we do ask if they're a member of ICE. Are you an ICE agent? Oh, sorry about that. We've been ordered to stand down per the chief of patrol. But it's not the chief of patrol. It's probably not even the mayor. It's probably Governor JB Pritzker. JB the Hutt. This is a guy who is so hell-bent on political power and climbing that political ladder and trying to run for president that he is going to do anything. And if it means harming his own citizens, if it means, get this, if it means constituents in Illinois are going to die, so be it. He don't care. He just wants to go on the news and tell everybody how horrible Donald Trump is. And the Department of Homeland Security is saying, look, the reason this is happening is because of the governor.
We believe this comes from the top. It looks like JB Pritzker is putting politics ahead of public safety, ahead of our law enforcement, their safety. The facts on the ground are the fact that our law enforcement were being rammed by vehicles, about 10 vehicles, one of which had a semi-automatic firearm on her. She also had a history of trying to dox and encouraging the threatening of these agents. After this incident occurred, after this attack occurred, our law enforcement were then surrounded by a violent crowd who began to throw bottles and rocks at our agents. They called for backup from the local police department, but no, they wouldn't respond. And in fact, our ICE ERO agents had to respond, who were later actually then attacked again with a vehicle as they were trying to respond. There's viral images of that going on across the internet. So we're seeing that more and more of these violent activists are using their vehicles as a weapon, as a tactic against our law enforcement. JB Pritzker, though, our message to him, go walk your streets. Go see the violent crime against your constituents. Go see the violent crime against our own law enforcement, because he continues to go on CNN and MSNBC and whitewash the facts. He's saying that we're using racial profiling to go after people. That's absolutely not true. We are targeting criminals, targeting criminals who have perpetuated very horrendous violence against the people of Chicago, and yet he continues to lie on air and say that we are arresting children, zip tying children. These are fake images that have continued to be debunked. JB Pritzker needs to get a spine. He needs to stand up for the people of Chicago, because if not, we will continue to flood the zone and surge federal resources to make sure the people of Chicago and the people of Illinois are safe again.
Yeah, so there you go. Department of Homeland Security saying, look, JB Pritzker's got to walk the streets of Chicago. He's not going to do that, by the way, because walking constitutes exercise. And JB Pritzker, I don't know if you've seen this guy, he's not big on exercise. The only thing he exercises is his mouth. When he spreads lies about President Donald Trump and ICE. Let's go more on that though. Let's go live to Caroline Levitt, who is at the press room for the press briefing.
Scheduling announcements today.
President
Trump will be hosting the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney tomorrow for a working meeting here at the White House.
Yikes.
On Thursday, the president will host his 8th cabinet meeting alongside his incredible team.
That should be exciting.
Also on Thursday afternoon, President Trump will host the president of Finland, Alexander Stubb, for a working meeting here at the White House.
Lots of working meetings.
The president also wanted me to relay his congratulations to Japan for electing their next prime minister, a highly respected person who also happens to be the first female to hold the position for our great ally.
Check it out.
While President Trump continues to negotiate peace deals, meets with world leaders, and celebrates the 250th birthday of our United States Navy, as you saw he and the First Lady do just yesterday, Democrats, unfortunately, are continuing to play political games. And we are now in day 6 of the Democrat federal government shutdown. Millions of American federal workers are under enormous financial stress as a result, wondering how they will pay their bills and take care of their families. If the Democrats do not vote to open the government tonight, federal workers will not receive their next full paycheck. Additionally, the special supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children will run out of federal money very soon. This program provides vouchers to buy infant formula, fresh fruits and vegetables, and other healthy foods for low-income families. It can be easily fully funded if Democrats simply vote tonight to reopen the government.
They won't. They're going to shoot it down again.
Our incredible military service members who risk their lives to preserve and defend our country are now working without pay and will miss their next paychecks if this Democrat shutdown does not end tonight.
That's the Democrat shutdown.
The Republican-backed clean and nonpartisan funding bill fully funds this important food aid program, gets our troops paid, and reopens the government. So all of this begs the question, what is the Democrat ongoing shutdown truly about? The sad truth, we believe, is that the Democrats intentionally shut down the government and are inflicting this pain on American citizens to try and demand free health care for illegal aliens. Of course, this is an indefensible and truly radical policy to be in favor of, let alone to use as the primary reason to shut down the United States government. So the Democrats and their allies are desperately lying about their true motivations. We have to set the record straight with the facts so the American people understand what's really at play here.
Here come the facts.
House Republicans passed a clean and nonpartisan funding bill to keep the government open and ensure our troops and other hardworking Americans are paid. Every single House Democrat except one voted against this clean and nonpartisan funding bill.
That is true.
Senate Republicans have subsequently tried to pass this same clean funding bill 4 separate times, and they will do so again tonight, to fully pass it to be sent to the president's desk for signature. And the president is ready to sign this bill to reopen the government as soon as it is sent to his desk. Yet every single Senate Democrat except 3 have voted against this clean and nonpartisan funding bill. The Democrats' current position is that the only way the American government can reopen is if illegal aliens can get free health care. Don't take my word for it, just look at what's inside of the Democrats' proposal to reopen the government. Their funding proposal would result in nearly $200 billion spent on health care for illegal aliens and other non-citizens over the next decade. To put this in perspective, $200 billion is enough money to fund the entire children's health insurance program, which provides health insurance to low-income children and women. Under the Democrats' proposal, the millions of illegal aliens who improperly were granted asylum and paroled under the Biden administration would once again be allowed to receive Medicaid benefits. It does not end there. The Democrat proposal would also require Medicaid to pay more for emergency care provided to illegal aliens than it does for American patients who are disabled, elderly, or children. When someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Believe
the
them.
Democrat Party has unfortunately closed our government, costing Americans their jobs, threatening our military readiness, harming our economy, and causing chaos, all to help the illegals who broke into our country. Instead of holding illegal aliens accountable and removing them from our country, which is what this administration is trying to do every day, the Democrats want to give them the free benefits paid for by the American taxpayer. Democrats in 2025 are for illegal aliens first and Americans last.
Well said.
This is the reality we are unfortunately facing right now in Washington, D.C. President Trump and Republicans will not give in to these radical demands. The president and Republicans have a sacred responsibility to serve and protect the interests of their constituents, the American people. That's why we are backing a clean and nonpartisan funding bill with no strings attached to reopen the government. Democrats should do what they did 13 separate times under Joe Biden and vote for this exact same type of funding bill.
That's exactly what they
Now
should
the
do.
Senate will vote tonight for the 5th time to reopen the government on the 6th day of this shutdown. All we need are an additional 5 Democrat senators to end this madness and vote for the clean funding bill to reopen the government. If you are an American watching at home right now, call your Democrat senators and tell them to do the right thing and end this
I don't have
shutdown.
Democrat senators. I'm
With
in
that,
Florida.
I will take your questions. Here in our new media seat today, we have Elizabeth Mitchell from the Daily Signal.
Oh.
Elizabeth, thanks for being here, and please kick us off.
Elizabeth
Thanks for
Mitchell.
having me. I have 2 questions.
Two
First,
questions.
President Trump told reporters yesterday that firings of federal employees are taking place right now. In which departments have people already been fired from their federal jobs due to the shutdown?
The president was referring to the hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have been furloughed as a result of this federal government shutdown, both here at the White House and across the entire federal government.
No, I
at
gotta start
agencies
firing
across
people.
the board. There are federal workers who are staying home. Many of them work in the White House. You know them. Some of them sit just behind me at those desks. They are unable to show up to work right now because the Democrats chose to shut the government down. And so we're already, unfortunately, seeing the consequence of this. And then, of course, the Office of Management and Budget is continuing to work with agencies on who, unfortunately, is going to have to be laid off if this shutdown continues.
Yeah, let's get it
And
going.
Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said the FDA was required by federal law to approve the new abortion pill last week. Is the administration considering steps to undo this in light of requests from pro-life Congress members and organizations?
I think Secretary Kennedy and the Department of Health and Human Services, as I addressed in the briefing last week, were following the law, and we will continue to do so. As I said last week as well, it's not an endorsement of this drug by any means. It's just a law that they were following. Jennifer.
We heard you say that you want people to call their Democratic senators. Is the president calling Democratic senators himself? Can you say what he's doing today to resolve the shutdown?
Yep, I was just in the Oval Office. He was on the phone with Speaker Johnson. He's also spoken with the Senate Majority Leader, who are in touch with, of course, moderate Democrats and Democrats
Yeah, it's
across
not the
board
president's job to
who
call the
we
senators.
understand, hopefully want to do the right thing by their constituents to reopen the government. So the president is being kept very well apprised of the ongoing shutdown on Capitol Hill. And of course, his position is very clear. There's nothing to negotiate, just reopen the government, and then we can talk about all the important issues facing our country.
So he hasn't called specific members of Congress?
Not to my
himself?
knowledge, no.
It's not his
And then on
job
the
to
Affordable
call
Care Act,
specific members
is
of
he
Congress.
willing to
It's Congress's job to
get
open the
more-
government.
To share more on what he'd like to negotiate on the Affordable Care Act later, is he willing to say specifically what he would like and when?
But look, the
They're not
president
negotiating
is
on anything.
definitely committed to fixing and improving our healthcare system. You saw it again last week when he had one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world coming into the Oval Office and promising to lower drug prices by 200, 300, 100% in many cases for various types of drugs for American patients.
Hear, hear.
That is a huge fix to a broken system that has been ripping off the American people for far too long. So the president's very committed to this. But right now, we need to reopen the federal government, and the president is remaining very firm in that position. Catherine.
If the vote fails in the Senate today to reopen the government, would that trigger layoffs?
Look, again, we hope that the vote will not fail because This administration wants to reopen the government. We don't want to see people laid off.
It's going to fail.
But unfortunately, if this shutdown continues, layoffs are going to be an unfortunate consequence of that.
Of course.
Timing for when that would happen?
Well, look, we'll see how the vote
Immediately. I say do it immediately.
Is the White House floating a proposal to cap Obamacare subsidies by denying them to new enrollees?
I have not seen a proposal like that. Emily.
Thanks, Caroline. The president said yesterday he was considering a phase 2 approach to Venezuela. Is the president considering U.S. boots on the ground or any kind of support of overthrowing Maduro?
I won't get into any specific proposals that are being considered by the president.
Is the president going to overthrow the government of Venezuela?
I think we've been pretty transparent and clear in the
I have that right here.
view of the illegitimate Maduro regime, and the president has taken very unprecedented, tough action to end the illegal trafficking of illicit drugs into our country from Maduro's illegitimate regime.
I can't believe she asked that, but also I can totally believe she asked
Danny, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. The French government has collapsed again for the fourth time in a year. And I was just wondering if there's any concern in the White House about the kind of ongoing political crisis there. Any thought about whether the President Trump's good friend, President Macron, should either call elections or even resign over that?
Well, I can tell you the White House and the National Security Council are very much aware of this situation, but I think it would be imprudent of me to weigh in on French internal politics from the podium, so I will reserve comment on that. Behind you, yes.
What is President Trump's expectations for talks today and I guess this week in Egypt?
Oh, it's Jared Halpern.
Is there a new timeline that the president is giving all sides to reach an agreement?
Yes. There are technical talks happening right now in Egypt amongst Special Envoy Witkoff and Mr. Kushner, as well as the respective parties from all sides. What we saw take place on Friday, and I have not commented on that from the podium yet, is truly remarkable. You've seen all sides of this conflict agree that this war needs to end and agree to the 20-point framework that President Trump proposed. It's an incredible achievement, and the administration is working very hard to move the ball forward as quickly as we can. The president wants to see a ceasefire. He wants to see the hostages released, and the technical teams are discussing that as we speak to ensure that the environment is perfect to release those hostages. They're going over the lists of both the Israeli hostages and also the political prisoners who will be released, and those talks are underway, and the president is very much on the ball and is being apprised of this situation.
The president had given a Sunday evening deadline. Obviously, the negotiations have extended that, I imagine. What is that new deadline? Does the president have a time frame in mind to see this phase implemented?
Well, the Sunday evening deadline was to hear back from Hamas on the proposal one way or another. And of course, on Friday, Hamas put out a very clear statement in the president's view that they accept the president's framework, and that's why those technical talks are now underway. But again, we want to move very quickly on this, and the president wants to see the hostages released as soon as possible. Steve.
How long do you expect those technical talks to last, Caroline?
As long as it takes,
Steve. Of course, it's very important, as I just mentioned, that we get this done quickly. That's how the president's team feels, so we can get some momentum, get the hostages out, and then move to the next part of this, which is really ensuring that we can create a lasting and durable peace in Gaza, and ensure that Gaza is a place that no longer threatens the security of Israel or the United States.
I love the be on the agenda for the president's meeting with the Prime Minister of Canada tomorrow.
I'm sure trade will be a topic of discussion tomorrow, and all of the other issues that are facing
Alberta,
both Canada and the United States.
Alberta
secession. The president
looks
forward to having that discussion with Carney in the Oval Office.
Alberta secession.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions. On the layoff of federal workers, potentially, the president said yesterday that Democrats will be to blame if federal workers lose their jobs. Historically, though, in past shutdowns, workers have been furloughed, but they have not been laid off en masse. So wouldn't that be the president's call to lay people off?
As I've said repeatedly, Caitlin, this conversation about layoffs would not be happening right now if the Democrats did not vote to shut the government down. And as I also said last briefing as well, we are $37 trillion in debt, and the government is not receiving any cash. So someone has to look at the balance sheet and be good stewards of the American taxpayer dollar.
That's good.
And layoffs are an unfortunate consequence of that.
Yeah, Caitlin Collins.
Term, for example.
Well, as I'm telling you now, this administration is focusing on checking the balance sheet and ensuring we're doing the right thing by the American taxpayer. And again, these conversations about layoffs would not be happening in the White House today if not for the Democrat shutdown. And they have a choice to change that. They have another opportunity tonight to do the right thing to reopen the government.
Judge over the weekend. Sorry, my second question. A federal judge over the weekend that the president had appointed to the bench in his first term in office basically argued that he could not deploy other states' National Guards to Portland. Basically said that it was untethered, his argument, to what is actually happening on the ground. Which local officials in Portland have said that the National Guard is needed there?
With all due respect to that judge, I think her opinion is untethered in reality and in the law. The president is using his authority as Commander-in-Chief, U.S. Code 12406, which clearly states that the president has the right to call up the National Guard in cases where he deems it's appropriate. And if you look at what has happened in Portland, Oregon, for more than 100 nights, I was talking to our law enforcement team about it this morning, for more than 100 days, night after night after night, the ICE facility has been really under siege by these anarchists outside. They have been disrespecting law enforcement. They've been inciting violence. We saw, again, a guillotine rolled out in front of this federal building. And so the president wants to ensure that our federal buildings and our assets are protected. And that's exactly what he's trying to do. And ultimately, in the case in Los Angeles, that judge ruled in the Ninth Circuit, that panel of judges ruled that those troops could remain and that the president was well within his authority to do so. So we are appealing that decision. As you know, we expect a hearing on it pretty quickly. And we're very confident in the president's legal authority to do this. And we're very confident we will win on the merits of the law.
Did you say anarchists?
That you can point to that have said we need the National Guard. Because I spoke to the police chief of Portland last week. He said that the president's claims just don't match up with what's happening on the ground.
The police chief of Portland is Antifa.
To go on the ground and
the police chief of Portland is an Antifa operative.
Many members of the press, not press in this room, but independent journalists, some of whom we'll be inviting to the White House very soon to share their stories, because they have been in the middle of these riots and they have witnessed the anarchy that is taking place night after night. It's on video. You should play it on your show. You have a great opportunity on prime time on CNN to show your audience. Yeah, but you're probably talking to partisan Democrat officials who are opposed to everything this president does. You should also ask the people who live in Portland. We've actually heard from many members of the community who have said that
do your
this
job,
is complete
Collins.
Civil disobedience. It's a mess. It's been loud. It's been troubling for neighbors in the community who are just trying to live peacefully. And these people are not there to peacefully protest. They are there to cause mayhem and havoc.
Yeah, Caroline.
Stephen, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions. First, do you have a reaction to reports that thousands of Cuban troops are deployed alongside Russia fighting in Ukraine? And on a very different matter, the president last week floated in an interview with our colleague Daniel from One America a rebate for tariffs of up to $2,000 per person. Is that plan contingent on the Supreme Court's upcoming ruling on the legality of the tariffs? And is the White House preparing for legislation to make that happen?
Sure. On the first point, I have not seen that report, Stephen, but I'll check in with our national security team after this and we'll get you an update. To your second point about the tariff rebates, I think it's an idea that the president has discussed and floated with his team of advisors, but no decision has been firmly made at this point in time.
Tariff rebates.
Why don't we go to the back? Owen.
Yeah, go to someone else.
Good afternoon.
A few days ago, President Trump demanded Jay Jones in Virginia get out of the race for condoning political violence in a text message against a Republican politician a few years ago. He hasn't left the race. He hasn't dropped out. What's the president's reaction?
Well, as you know, I'm not at liberty to discuss political races from the podium. I think the president himself made his position very clear, and I think anyone could agree the messages that were sent by this Democrat nominee for Attorney General in Virginia are really shocking, alarming, and completely unacceptable. He was threatening to kill his opponent and his opponent's children, and that type of rhetoric has zero place in our country, and the president was absolutely right to condemn that.
Perfect.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. The Democrats have questioned and scrutinized the president's comments about using potentially the military, American cities, as training grounds for the military. And when you look at Portland, Chicago, local and state officials say that their local law enforcement is able to handle the situations, these protests on the ground, The president says that Portland is burning, using that as justification for the National Guard in Portland. But when you look here in Washington, D.C., the president just last week said it is now a completely safe city, and there are still National Guard members on the streets that are not involved in ICE activities. Can you provide the justification for the White House here in Washington, D.C., why the National Guard members continue to be out on the streets?
So the crime doesn't come back.
Washington, D.C. has invited the National Guard here. Why? Because the mayor is doing the right thing, unlike mayors in other cities like Portland, as Caitlin and others have pointed out, who refuse to see that there are positive results from when local law enforcement works with federal law enforcement to do the right thing on behalf of their citizens. And Washington, D.C. is no doubt a safer city right now, today, than it was a few months ago when President Trump started this initiative to make D.C. safe again. And the National Guard is still here because the president and the mayor agree that it's a good thing for the city. Just like you're seeing in Memphis, for instance. We'll have National Guard deployed to Memphis. We have federal agents who are on the ground working with state and local law enforcement. The state police in Tennessee are part of this effort. The local metropolitan police in Memphis are part of this effort. State and local law enforcement and federal law enforcement should be working together. And it's a shame that we see in some cities across the country that their mayors are just simply refusing to cooperate because they don't like Donald Trump. And that's what this boils down to. And I don't think any American would disagree that Chicago needs more law enforcement reinforcements, that they need more resources. Look at this headline from over the weekend.
Oh, here it is.
30 people shot during the weekend in Democrat-run Chicago. 5 of them were killed in one weekend. This is completely unacceptable, and the president wants to make American cities safer, and he's willing to work with anyone to do it.
And Governor Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson don't.
Send the National Guard into Chicago and Portland. Do Democrats not have reason to be concerned that there are long-term plans by this administration to keep U.S. military or the National Guard in American cities, like what we're seeing here in Washington?
Why should they be concerned about the federal government offering help to make their cities a safer place? They should be concerned about this. They should be concerned about the fact that people in their cities right now are being gunned down every single night, and the president,
the dumbest. I know.
all he's
Great
trying
answer,
to do
by the
is
way.
fix it. And there has been a complete smear campaign by the Democrats and the media, quite frankly. I was reading Political Playbook this morning, one of the most inside the Beltway newsletters you can find. And you guys are framing this like the president wants to take over the American cities with the military. The president wants to help these local leaders who have been completely ineffective in securing their own cities. And we have already seen there's a positive formula for that. Look at Washington, D.C. The murder rate has declined significantly. Our streets are safer. People who live here feel safer. All of you in this room, I know you do, you just won't admit it. And it's a proven system that works, and the president wants to make America's cities safe again. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. Yeah, she's right. Why are you concerned that there's law enforcement agents there? Why are you not concerned about the crime?
If Hamas does agree to relinquish power and give it up, cede power to this transitional technocratic government, if that does happen, would the Trump administration then recognize a Palestinian state?
Look, I don't want to get ahead of the technical talks right now, Michael. They're extremely sensitive. They're taking place, again, as we speak, and there's a lot of, there's many things to discuss, of course. This is, hopefully, we expect and we hope going to be one of the greatest peace deals this world has ever seen. And the Trump administration is working diligently and working very hard to get there. And as I said, Friday, all terms agreed. We have the Arab countries who are working with us. Of course, Israel has been incredible in cooperating with the president's plan and agreeing to it. And we're very hopeful, and we expect that to continue.
Caroline, you tweeted about this over the weekend.
Thank you. I was going to you in the blue shirt and tie.
Thank you, Caroline.
You're welcome.
The Daily Mail. Today, the Supreme Court declined to hear Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal. Will Trump rule out granting her clemency? Is that something the White House is considering?
It's not something I've heard discussed. And we don't comment on clemency requests that may or may not have been made, but I'm certainly not tracking that one at this point in time.
Caroline.
Jordan, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. So we're talking about these radical groups in Portland and Chicago.
Yeah.
I know the president has spoken about potentially going after George Soros with RICO charges and for funding all of this violence. Has there been any update on that? And also, is the administration looking into the other nonprofits, maybe taking away their 501c3 status for funding this violence? And one more question.
Sure. The financial backing of these groups, particularly Antifa, is certainly something the administration is looking into aggressively. And the federal government has never really been mobilized or tasked with doing that. So we're kind of kickstarting that into gear.
Yeah.
The FBI is working on it alongside the White House's Homeland Security Task Force. We have our intelligence community looking into this as well. And even the Secretary of Treasury is involved with these matters since they are financial in nature. And we will continue to get to the bottom of who is funding these organizations in this organized anarchy against our country and our government. It's a question the American people have been begging the answer for many years, and we're committed to uncovering it. And when we do, I'm sure you'll be one of the first people to know.
Separately, Caroline. Thank you. So Gaza, under the president's plan, is going to be governed by a transitional governance of a technocratic, apolitical Palestinian committee made up of qualified Palestinians and international experts. Now, given how radicalized the Palestinian population is in Gaza and in the West Bank, can you offer some insight or guidance into who are some of these Palestinians that are going to be considered for leadership roles in Gaza, and where you're going to be finding them, and do you have any names?
We're not quite there yet, Jonathan. The president believes peace is possible in Gaza, and that's why he presented this detailed and comprehensive plan. The first step of that is securing a ceasefire and releasing the hostages, and then those conversations about ensuring a durable and lasting peace can continue. But what do you need to have peace in a region like Gaza that's been war-torn for far too long? You need security guarantees, and you need good governance. And so those will be two of the priorities that this administration is focused on.
If I may, the president has said he wants the government to reopen this week in a deal. What's going to happen by the end of the week if there's no deal? What's the White House prepared to do?
With no deal with what?
To reopen the government.
Look, as I said, unfortunately, there's going to be a
feel
lot
like
of
we've
pain
had this
inflicted.
question
There
over, yeah.
already is on the American public, on our troops who are not being paid, again, on women and young children who depend on critical food assistance. We hate to see this, and in fact, the Office of Management and Budget is trying to do everything they can to find funds to get out the door for these vulnerable populations in our country. Again, we shouldn't be having to do that. The Democrats have a chance to change course tonight. I believe the vote's taking place at 6:30, and we urge Democrat senators
Oh, is it 6:30? I thought it was 5:30.
to reopen the government and to do the right thing. Thanks, guys.
Oh, that's it. And she's out. That was a quick one. Quick and dirty. I like that. Quick and dirty. So that was Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, and she was doing a fun little press conference or a press briefing with the media to talk about the White House, the White House response to the continued government shutdown that the Democrats have put us in. Remember, it's the Schumer shutdown. It's the Democrats. They could reopen this government at any time. At any time. But again, it's something that they are using. They're trying to leverage what little political power they have. And think about this. This is a political party. The only leverage they have is keeping American citizens hostage. The only leverage they have is hijacking the United States government and not paying hardworking men and women of the federal government and the military. Not paying people who rely on government, help and assistance. This is something that the Democrats have. This is something that they've been, reduced to. Now they can't win elections. They couldn't win the White House. They couldn't win the Senate. They couldn't win the House of Representatives. The Republicans hold all the cards. And so the only power they have left is by putting a gun to the people's heads and saying, we're not going to give you any money. We're not going to let the government stay open. We're going to shut it down until we get what we want. And what we want isn't even stuff for American citizens. It's for illegal immigrants. And the interesting thing about this shutdown is that the Democrats thought the tide would turn against Republicans, but the tide's actually turning against them. NBC News, get this. They cornered Hakeem Jeffries with clips of himself talking about how important it is for clean continuing resolutions to be signed and for Democrats or whatever party's in power to just allow the government to stay open while they negotiate. Listen to this.
But let me ask you, because you say this is a Republican shutdown, but it's Democratic senators who are withholding their votes on what is called a clean resolution. That means no strings attached, which is something, quite frankly, Leader, that you and other Democrats have advocated for in the past. Take a look.
You do not use the threat of shutting down government to try to advance your policy agenda.
First thing that the House has to do is pass a clean 6-week CR.
A continuing resolution that is at the fiscal year 2023 levels is the only way forward.
Yeah, that's Hakeem Jeffries telling Hakeem Jeffries a continuing resolution, a clean continuing resolution is the only way forward for 6 weeks. But current Hakeem Jeffries, Hakeem the Dream Jeffries with his big sombrero, that's the guy saying, no, we need all these things before we can sign the clean CR. The Democrats are demanding the government stay shut down until we get what we want, even though back then Hakeem Jeffries was all about signing a clean CR. No issues signing a clean CR back then. Nowadays, however, when Donald Trump's in charge, it's a totally different story. And, the Donald Trump, look, he's not going to not do what he said. He's already said we're going to start laying people off. We're going to start cutting programs, and we're going to cut things that are important to Democrat senators in Democrat states. This is how politics works, right? And we're going to get back to Chicago in a minute because there's a lot more to talk about with Chicago. We haven't even gotten to Kristi Noem being refused the bathroom. We haven't even gotten to Kristi Noem needing to go number one, and the Democrats in Chicago telling her to pound sand. Dig a hole is basically what they told her. But anyway, so Hakeem Jeffries and the rest of the Democrats, they're out there and they're holding this government hostage. And look, the deep blue senators, the Chuck Schumers, whatever, they're never going to change. We get that. But there are these moderate Democrats, right? In these purplish states, there are these moderate Democrat senators who are up for re-election and don't need their constituency mad at them. There's a lot of moderate senators out there, Democrat senators, who want the government to reopen. Every Republican, with the exception of Rand Paul, has voted to reopen the government. John Fetterman voted with the Democrats. Angus King voted with the Democrats. The chick from Nevada, I always forget her name. She voted with voted with the Republicans, rather. Fetterman, Angus King, chick from Nevada, they all voted with the Republicans. That means 5 more Democrats need to cross the aisle. And the Republicans know who they are. They know who is most, I guess you would say, volatile, or who the easiest to sway would be, who would likely crack and flip on their own party if they got some political pressure from back home. And that's why they're targeting any and all government subsidies and any and all government programs in those people's states. If you are, let's just say, a Democrat from Minnesota, guess what? Minnesota is going to be first on the chopping block until you come to your senses and vote potentially to support the government reopening. If you're, let's say, let's say you're in New Hampshire, right? And you're a Democrat senator, you're going to be targeted. Let's say you're in Georgia. Georgia is a very interesting state because they have 2 Democrat senators and a Republican governor and a lot of Republican representatives. And they have a lot of Republican voters. And they voted for President Donald Trump. So those 2 Democrat senators, Jon Ossoff, Raphael Warnock, they're really going to be getting some pressure. And Donald Trump and the Republicans, they may start looking around at Georgia and saying, hey, sorry, guys, we got to cut all these programs, but blame Ossoff and Warnock. They have the power to step up and vote to keep the government open, but they're not doing it. They're not doing it. So that's exactly, and Kevin Hassett made no bones about it. Kevin Hassett literally said, yes, we are targeting blue states.
Yet the Senate Democrats are marching in unison towards destruction, like lemmings off a hill, off a cliff. And so I think that in the end it's natural to put more pressure on the states where the senators are being intransigent, so the senators themselves see the costs that they're imposing on the American people. I think that's completely logical.
Yeah, if you have intransigent senators, that's where we're going to target these cuts so that they don't act like lemmings running off the cliff and just voting to keep the government shut down. They're going to actually vote with their conscience and vote the way that the people, because remember, they're representatives, not of the Democrat Party. It's what I tell people all the time when I go out for my congressional meetings, when I go out to meet people, and whenever I do a speaking engagement, I say, look, representatives are not there to represent themselves. They're not there to represent the party. They're out there to represent the population, the people who voted for them, the people who elected them. So if you're a representative from, let's say, Florida's 5th District, as I will soon be, then my job is to vote for the people of Florida's 5th District. And if the government is staying open, benefits them, and there's a lot of military in town, Naval Station Mayport, we got all those Navy officers we saw up in Norfolk. We got a bunch of them down here too. All those midshipmen and women, they're all all over the place. And we want to make sure they get paid. So doing whatever we can to keep the government open is in our best interest. And it doesn't matter who's in power. That's in the best interest of the people I'm going to be representing. But I digress. we must get back to what's going on in Chicago. Oh, first though, I don't know if you've been to getmarksgold.com yet, but so Bitcoin is top of the heap, man. Bitcoin hit its highest mark ever. That was the big headline I saw. Bitcoin, which is great. And even though Bitcoin has increased under President Donald Trump and people are becoming Bitcoin billionaires and millionaires and all these other great things, guess what's even higher? Gold. Guess what's even less volatile? Gold. Guess what's even more of a safe haven investment than Bitcoin? Gold. So if you made some money in Bitcoin, here's what I suggest you do. Sell off some of your Bitcoin because it's topped out. You want to take some of your returns and reinvest that money with Augusta Precious Metals. Sell off $100,000 worth of your Bitcoin, then take it to Augusta Precious Metals. Go to getmarksgold.com. They'll help you do it. If you have an IRA, if you have a 401k, if you have any other kind of retirement plan, or maybe you just have $100,000 in cash sitting around somewhere, gold is a much more valuable and fiscally responsible safe haven investment that grows faster than even Bitcoin does. And Augusta Precious Metals is better business rated and highly ranked by all the periodicals in the financial industries to help you make the most of it. Getmarksgold.com. Go there today, get your free information guide, find out how a gold and precious metals IRA can be the perfect safe haven investment for you as well. Getmarksgold.com. There's a link also in the description of this video if you would like easier access than typing out getmarksgold.com into your browser. So, Chicago police abandoning ICE.
Per the chief of patrol, clear everybody up. We're not responding over there.
Yeah, per the chief of police, clear everybody out. We're not responding over there. And Governor Pritzker, as we know now, is to blame. Governor Pritzker, the Department of Homeland Security said, is at the top of this heap. He should come walk the streets. He should talk about it. He should meet the people. He should meet ICE. He should find out what's going on. And then maybe he won't be so gung-ho to allow the destruction of his city and his state. And Governor Pritzker was asked about this by Jake Tapper on CNN. And he actually defended the police not answering 911 calls when ICE agents were in jeopardy.
And take out the bad guys.
DHS says that CBP officers shot and wounded a woman in Chicago yesterday after, they say, she allegedly rammed a law enforcement vehicle and agents were boxed in by multiple cars. The spokesperson for DHS, Tricia McLaughlin, accused Chicago police of leaving the scene and refusing to assist agents in securing the area. What do you know about this incident? Were federal agents boxed in and assaulted?
Well, we don't have a lot of facts. What happens in these sorts of incidents is typically ICE puts out a press release before anybody else can speak with the press, and then it gets reported on social media and elsewhere. Remember, these are the same folks who killed a person, unarmed person, just a couple of weeks ago in Franklin Park. At first, they said that the officer had been threatened with his life. The reality of it and the truth of it has now come out, and that wasn't the case. They killed somebody. So here, it's really hard to know exactly what the facts are, and they won't let us access the facts. They are just putting out their propaganda, and then we've got to later determine what actually happened.
Okay.
Trump is also trying to deploy the National Guard to Portland, Oregon.
Okay, so that basically that's a lie on multiple slates. He's saying now that ICE agents murdered someone, just killed somebody. It's like they just killed somebody. They didn't kill somebody. They were acting in self-defense. In fact, luckily, there's good reporting in Chicago. We actually have videotape of what happened. We actually have a police report that shows exactly what happened. And we know that what JB Pritzker just said was a lie.
Surveillance video from this morning shows 2 ICE agents conducting a vehicle stop. The agents surround the silver car. The driver reverses the vehicle. The officer on the passenger side can be seen pointing his weapon as the driver attempts to flee the scene. As the car drives away, the agent on the driver's side can no longer be seen in this video. In a different surveillance video, 2 gunshots can be heard as the vehicle drives away. In a statement, DHS said the driver, Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, struck one of the officers and dragged them as he drove away. That officer then fired his weapon, hitting Villegas Gonzalez. Social media video shows Villegas Gonzalez laying on the ground bleeding. as agents appeared to provide immediate care. A DHS spokesperson said the ICE agent followed his training, used appropriate force, and properly enforced the law to protect the public and law enforcement. The officer sustained multiple injuries and is now in stable condition. Villegas Gonzalez was pronounced dead at the hospital. According to ICE, he entered the U.S. illegally and had a history of traffic violations.
Okay, so here's what you got. You got ICE agents who are conducting a routine stop. They're going by the book. They're doing everything they should. And all of a sudden, one of them gets hit by a car and dragged while refusing to get out of the vehicle. So the other agent, in an effort to protect the life of a federal law enforcement officer, fires shots at the driver so that the vehicle will stop and his buddy will stop getting dragged along the streets. And hits the driver. The driver then crashes the car, it looks like. They haul him out and they immediately begin trying to save his life. They administer medical attention on the scene. They don't just let him bleed out. They're like, now we got to save his life. And unfortunately, he dies at the hospital. He's DOA. And JB Pritzker, think about this. JB Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, this guy, this big fat liar, goes on television and says, ICE federal agents killed somebody. Those were his words. They killed him, is what he said. And the fact of the matter is that they were doing their job. They were threatened and attacked in the course of doing their job. And not only did they act accordingly in an effort to protect their own lives from criminal, illegal aliens, but they also tried to administer care, life-saving care at the end of it. Unfortunately, that was unsuccessful. This is a guy who, for whatever reason, wants to side with the criminals, wants to side with the thugs, wants to side with the illegal immigrants and ignore. And in fact, well, Donald Trump had an interesting take on all of this. Donald Trump thinks that JB Pritzker is somehow compromised or scared. They think that he's being, threatened, or that he's being blackmailed or bribed in some way. He feels like JB Pritzker is afraid for his life, and that's why he's siding with these criminals.
I really believe he's afraid for his life somehow. When you can have 40 or 50 people killed over the last couple of months, hundreds of people wounded, there's no place like that in the world. Hundreds of people wounded, 50, 55 people shot and killed. And Pritzker gets up and says what a wonderful place it is. They need help. Washington, D.C. is now a safe place. You're not going to get mugged or hit. You're not going to get raped. You're not going to get anything. Washington, D.C. went from a hellhole to a safe place. I love the way you nod. Is it true, though? A lot of the people right here were mugged. Reporters. And you know what? You're safe now. Nothing. We've had no crime. It took 12 days to solve the problem. 12 days. And we're going to do that in Chicago. We're going to do that in Portland. Now, Portland's different. That's a bunch of paid insurrectionists. But you have a lot of paid people in Chicago, too. I believe the politicians are under threat because there's no way somebody can say that things are wonderful in Chicago. Almost 55, I think it was 55 people over a short period of time have been murdered in Chicago, have been shot. 222 people over a short period of time have been hit, have been wounded, not died. But 55 people died over a short period of time. You're telling me there's no city in the world like that. We're going to straighten it out. And I think that Pritzker, he's not a stupid person. I think that Pritzker's afraid for his life.
Pritzker's afraid for his life, probably, but most likely he's afraid for his life from diabetes or heart disease. But Donald Trump saying, look, I think he's afraid for his life. I think if he puts what he's basically saying is that the criminals are running Chicago, that the criminals are in charge, that there's elements that are running around that are above and beyond JB Pritzker's controls. And if he starts to clamp down on them, or if he allows ICE agents and federal agents to solve the crime problem in Chicago, then they're going to come after him. And they've probably threatened him. And they've said, if you let Donald Trump clean up Chicago, if you bring in federal agents, if you allow this to happen, we're coming after you. We're coming after you. And that's why Donald Trump is not allowing Kristi Noem to pee in a at City Hall. Think about this. JB Pritzker is being blackmailed by criminals. Therefore he's siding with the criminals and thwarting law enforcement investigations. He's telling police not to do their job, and he's not allowing Kristi Noem to pee.
Madison, you mentioned in Illinois those protests erupting outside that Broadview ICE facility, and you mentioned Secretary Noem. She actually was blocked from even entering City Hall after visiting the town's ICE facility. Listen here to how that went down.
Can we use the restrooms? No, you cannot. We can?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Interesting. That's what Governor Pritzker says is cooperation in keeping people safe.
Well, look, Secretary Noem has gone out and proven to the law enforcement officers of ICE, of CBP, and the other federal equities that she's going to go on the ground. She's going to see you do your job firsthand, and she is going to lead from the front. This is why our law enforcement officers have a high level of respect for Secretary Noem and the work that she does, because she puts our officers first. She goes out and sees what their day-to-day is like. She does the job with them, and I commend her for her want and ability to go out and do that. And it's truly honorable that she's willing to go out and have these hard conversations. Governor Pritzker, it doesn't matter what he says. He's never going to show up. He's never going to get out in the field. He's never going to watch our officers take rapists, murderers, and gang members off the street like Secretary Noem does. So he can continue to criticize the men and women of ICE, but we are the ones keeping his community safe because he chooses not to.
Yeah, that's a really good rundown. It's not just that though. It's it's everybody. It's a coordinated effort by Democrats to thwart President Donald Trump. And what Donald Trump is doing is trying to keep people safe. So when you're thwarting Donald Trump, you're doing everything you can to put people in harm's way, Americans in harm's way. You're doing everything you can to put Americans in harm's way because you hate President Donald Trump. And the cops supposedly are outraged by this order. I mean, it was a full stand down order. We have the tape.
So the chief of patrol, clear everybody up. We're not responding over there.
Yeah, per the chief of patrol, clear everybody out. We're not responding over there. And so the police had to leave. And the police, I'm sure you know, have dedicated their lives. The men and women in the police departments, they've dedicated their lives to protecting and serving. And as you can imagine, they were furious.
We're hearing from a lot of rank and file Chicago cops who say that they are outraged that they were ordered to stand down after federal agents were attacked. The communication for the stand down appears to have come from the chief of patrol himself over the communications platform with the Office of Emergency Management and Communication, reading very clearly, no units will respond to this. Multiple police sources have confirmed that message is authentic, and it is backed up by audio of the stand down order.
So the chief of patrol, clear everybody up. We're not responding over there.
All right, and 999, just to confirm, 39th Police in Kedzie, they were saying that they were being surrounded by that large crowd, and they were requesting the police were not sending. I'm waving off all the cars heading to 39th Police in Kedzie.
Again, those are the orders we're being given.
Now, the official statement from Chicago Police Department reads, CPD responded to the scene to document the incident. CPD officers were also on the scene to maintain public safety and traffic control. It happened in Brighton Park. The scene was triggered when two individuals allegedly rammed a Border Patrol vehicle with their cars. Border Patrol agents shot the driver of one of the allegedly attacking vehicles. The drivers are now charged federally, but the incident triggered a riot. That's when the calls for help went out. Now, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson just moments ago dodged questions about whether that order tracks back to him, but he says he doubts the narrative of the Border Patrol agents.
They claimed it was defensive fire, but frankly, we cannot trust anything that comes out of the administration. We have a rogue, reckless group of heavily armed mass individuals roaming throughout our city that are not accountable to the people of Chicago. Their actions put all Chicagoans at risk.
And we knew this was coming, but the Illinois Attorney General has just made it official. The state of Illinois is now suing the Trump administration, claiming that the president is using American soldiers to punish his political enemies.
Okay, the Attorney General in Illinois is suing the Trump administration for protecting people. Illinoisans, Chicagoans. They're suing. Donald Trump says 40 people were killed last month. 40 people were killed by crime. Hundreds were injured. You guys can't seem to get it under control. So we're going to stop the crime. We're going to do whatever we can because it's an American city. It's under his, it is part of the United States of America, and he has the jurisdiction, or he has the right to bring up National Guard troops and send them wherever there's an attack on American citizens. And Chicago is one of those places. And in doing so, now the Attorney General of Chicago is suing President Donald Trump to stop him from protecting American citizens. How bad a state do you have to live in where you're suing the president to get him to stop protecting your citizens? You're suing the president. And look, and not only that, but the citizens want the National Guard there.
The National Guard has to come here, even if it's for a scare tactic. They have to come here. There's no control. There's no law and order.
Yeah. Look, even if it's for a scare tactic, even if we're just going to scare these people straight, they got to come here. We need help in Chicago. Send the National Guard. There's another woman who's mad because they're lying about black people. Oh, get this. Mayor Brandon Johnson also called, he said this before, he's reiterating his claim that what Donald Trump wants is a new civil war. He wants blacks and whites fighting again. And so that's why he's sending the National Guard because there's no black National Guard troops going into Chicago. That's all. It's all just white troops under those masks, and they're attacking black people in Chicago. That's he's saying this is to spark a new civil war.
I said very candidly that the right wing in this country wants a rematch of the Civil War. I want that to sit in right now, because the President of the United States of America has declared war on the people of Chicago and people across America.
That's right.
He's more interested in giving billions of dollars to other nations, while farmers in urban cities around this country are literally being destabilized. And so whether it's the legal system, whether it's through executive order, or whether it's through the brave women and men who are serving as rapid responders. We literally have people who are volunteering in this city, on the southwest side, the northwest side, all over this city, to make sure that we're protecting children from being separated from their families. And we're talking about volunteers who are literally putting themselves at risk of being shot and killed by the federal government. And so whether it's the legal system, whether it's our continuous struggle for liberation through organizing, and whether it's through executive action, or whether it's through law, it would be nice if we actually had lawmakers in Washington that would actually hold this president accountable. And if they won't do it, then the city of Chicago will, using every single tool that's available to us.
Yeah, by the way, you shouldn't actually get those volunteers. You shouldn't call out for volunteers for citizens of Chicago to get in the way of ICE operations, because that's not good. They're basically breaking the law. He's basically calling on his citizens to volunteer to break the law, to obstruct justice against a federal law enforcement agency, and risk getting arrested and, go to jail for a very long time. You can go to jail for a very long time. If you don't believe me, just believe the people that are going to jail for a very long time.
Mar Martinez and Anthony Ian Santos Ruiz are from Chicago. Both are accused of using their cars to ram a vehicle being driven by federal agents on South Kedzie. They then allegedly boxed the agents in. Those agents shot and wounded Martinez. And this is video showing protests around the time of the incident. Martinez and Ruiz are charged with forcibly assaulting, impeding, and interfering with a federal law enforcement officer. They are being held in custody. Several federal agents were also hurt and taken to the hospital. The woman.
Yeah. So, that's it. You're going to go to jail. They're not messing around with you. They're going to haul you off. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you do. They're going to haul you off to jail. There is a press conference going on right now in Chicago with the police superintendent. I'm trying to figure out if it's worth dipping into, or if we'll probably just get the clips. We'll probably just get the clips at a later date. But the fact of the matter is that they're trying to stoke civil war by claiming Donald Trump wants a civil war. And you know who's not buying it? Do you know who's not buying the lie that President Donald Trump is trying to start a race war in Chicago? The black people in Chicago.
Chicago, you need to stop lying and saying, and people on this internet need to stop lying and saying that they're coming for black people. Yes, there was a building in a black community that was not majority black because it had been overran by illegal gang bangers. Let's be clear. So why everybody want to keep throwing that narrative around half of South Shore is fucking invaded.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I didn't realize there was a word. I missed that the first I missed that. Anyway, you get the idea. People are fed up with their mayor. They're fed up with their representative. In fact, get this, the mayor has a 6% approval rating in Chicago.
Well, let's remember that mayor has a less than 6% approval rating in Chicago. So the people who live there, less than 6%, think he might be doing somewhat of a good job. Overwhelmingly, that man is a failure. He's a failure for his people and hasn't stood up for the victims of the crimes that have happened in his city. So we're going to keep doing our work. Every day when we're there doing our operations, when I'm there with them, people on the streets are clapping as we do our work. They're clapping as these officers are arresting these bad criminals. And out of the 12 that we arrested during the short period of time I was there, 6 of them had criminal records in their backgrounds that the state had arrested them and just turned them loose on the street again for assault, for weapons possession, for robbery. Those individuals now are off the streets thanks to President Trump, not thanks to that mayor who's delusional at best.
That is Kristi Noem saying, look, there's people clapping, there's people applauding, there's people saying, yes, ICE, thank you so much. Bravo. We love what you're doing. We appreciate what you're doing. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Keep up the good work. And I'm one of them. And Kristi Noem, if you ever need to pee and you're in the Jacksonville area, Mar-a-Lago is open to you. You're more than welcome to any ICE agent, not just Kristi Noem, because that'd be weird if it was just for Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem, anybody, Tom Homan, anyway, if you happen to be in illustrious downtown Jacksonville and your bladder gets full, by all means, you can come to Mar-a-Lago and I will open up one of my restroom facilities, if not all of them, to you. Maybe not the master bath, but any of the other ones. We'll get you some water, make you a little charcuterie plate if you're feeling hungry, whatever it is, whatever our ICE agents need, Mar-a-Lago is here for you in illustrious downtown Jacksonville. I will open up K-Treat HQ to any and all law enforcement agents who need to relieve themselves while keeping Americans safer. There's so much more that we have to get to. We do have, fun fact, an extended 30-minute after party coming up here in just a minute for our K-Treat Club members. And then tomorrow, I do want to remind you that Podcast Profits Live returns. This is one day away. 1 day at 5 hours, 46 minutes and 29 seconds away. We're going to be going live with Podcast Profits Live. Now, this is something again that, and there's renewed interest in this because people are really realizing something. They're realizing that the people who communicate are the ones who make change. The people who communicate are the ones that are able to grow and execute whatever it is they want to execute. Charlie Kirk being the greatest example. And I think what Charlie Kirk's movement really opened people up to was one person can make a change. One person with a microphone, one person with a message, one person with a mission, one person who's dedicated to communicating something to a group of people can actually change the world and change their position in the world. And so if you're looking to change your position in the world, whether you need to make more money or grow your business, whether there's social change or religious change you're looking to implement, whether you have a hobby that you're trying to grow, whether you just want to build a community for whatever reason, podcasting and launching a podcast the proper way is, in my humble opinion, the best way to do it because, well, I've done it twice now and I continue to do it. And I now help other people succeed with it as well. Now, tomorrow night, just in case you're interested, it's podcastprofitspro.com is where you go to sign up. You do need to sign up. You can't just stroll on in. It's not like Kristi Noem using the bathroom at Mar-a-Lago. No. What you need to do is you need to go register, go to podcastprofitspro.com. There's a link in the description of this video as well. Podcastprofitspro.com. Click the link, register. It's free. It's about an hour, and I'm going to take you behind the scene of K-Trip Media. I'm going to take you behind the scenes of our entire media empire and show you how we grew from basically nothing to multiple podcasts that finance our entire career and finance our entire operation and spread the message of, saving the Republic, which I think is a fantastic message. Podcast Profits Pro. That's tomorrow night. Sign up today because the Zoom room does have a limit. And we've been pushing the limits here the past couple of times we've done this. In just a minute, we will be going live at Patriots.com for our after party, because after the party, it's the after party. And we'd love for you to join us as well. If you can't join us, don't worry. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you set those notifications. Make sure you keep coming back every single day for more and more and more of Mark K Saves the Republic. Why? Because, fun fact, it's not just me doing it. It's you and your friends and your family members and the people you love and the people you don't love and the people that you're out there trying to convince you're wrong, we're right. Let's all save the country together. And those are the people that need to know what you know, and you know what I know, and whatever I know, I'll tell you so that you'll know it too. And that's how we keep each other entertained. We keep each other informed. We keep each other inspired and enlightened, because without inspiration, there can be no enlightenment. And once you're enlightened, you're totally inspired to keep waking up every single day and seeking out justice and liberty and fighting, that didn't work out that well, to save the Republic. After party begins in like 5 minutes. If you want to join us, it's Patriots.com. $10 a month or 2 months free if you register for an entire year at one time. Patriots.com. The after party begins in 5.